Good morning friends and welcome to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. There was a time in the road transport industry when youngsters were not willing to join their father's business. And for obvious reasons, the road transport industry has always been a tough one. There is always a constant stress, erratic work timings, and of course lack of technology. But at the same time, there have also been youngsters who have not only joined their father's business, but have taken it to the next level altogether. Interestingly, the road transport industry has transformed in the last few years, especially driven by technology. The infrastructure has gotten much better than what it was a few years back. Today we will be talking to one such youngster who has not only made a difference to his family business, but to the road transport industry as a whole. We will be talking today to one of the young Turks at CJ Darcel and also the working president of All India Transporters Welfare Association. In fact, it is very interesting that two key positions at AITWA are held by youngsters. While we have Puneet as the working president, he has Abhishek Gupta, another youngster, as the General Secretary of AITWA. Another interesting fact is that both these youngsters are keeping a close eye on technology and not only implementing the same in their respective companies, but also encouraging other companies and other youngsters to adopt these technologies. The result is very simple: better efficiency, better profitability, and ease of doing business. So without much delay, let's dive into the mind of Puneet Agarwal and see what he has to think about CJ Darcel and AITWA. So Puneet, you are probably one of the youngest presidents of AITWA. How big is this responsibility and how have you prepared for this?
Well, this is a great honor for me to be part of AITWA, and elders encouraged me to take this position. I gave it a thought and I felt that it's time that I contribute betterment of the industry. I personally see that the way it was established about 20 years back, AITWA, by our elders in the trade. So that time was a different age, and today we are living in a digital age. I felt while we do a lot of things as individuals in our individual organization, individual capacity, but there are few things that can only be done at the platform level of the industry association level. I felt this would give me a good platform for me to bring about change industry-wide, interface with government. So I felt, why not let me step forward? So it's a big responsibility for sure.
And one of your uncles, Roshanji, was one of the founders of AITWA. How does that feel?
Yeah, it certainly feels good, and R.D. Bansalji or R.L. Agarwalji, O.P. Agarwalji, they're all the people who have been growing up seeing them. They've been our respected people. So it's a great honor for me to be stepping into their shoes. It's certainly a great honor and a big responsibility as well.
Puneet, what are the major issues that you will be taking up during your tenure as the working president?
So AITWA has been over the time a key platform. It has emerged as where government seeks our viewpoint on all policy matters, be it GST, be it Motor Vehicle Act, be it Carriers Act, even NHRC. They hosted a meeting about Human Rights Commission for the drivers and people associated with transportation industry. So AITWA is by default the go-to association for government to reach out to seek opinions. That's been core forte. Now with my personal agenda has been to how we can drive adoption of technology in the industry. A good thing that has happened, as I mentioned a while ago, is ULIP. ULIP is a government step, and government now recognizes digitalization is key for increasing the logistics efficiency. So that's one of the agendas that I'm going to be driving. Besides welfare of drivers, like our president, national president, Ramesh Agarwalji is very close to heart. His topic is driver Vidhan, which he talked about during the national logistics policy presentation as well. So that's another topic.
Puneet, the road transport industry has always complained that the government is ignoring this industry, especially when it comes to talking about policies. The transport industry is not invited across the table. But Things have been changing with AITWA being called to many important policy-related meetings. Do you see this change?
I feel we cannot complain that we are not heard. Certainly, it's takes time for things to be done. The most important issues, they are certainly addressed. Government has a ear to listen to us if how it is significantly impacting. However, they have their own objectives of preventing the leakages from the tax system. So there are some frictions that they create, which when present to them, they might not be as forthcoming in implementing the reforms. Though I wouldn't complain that they don't listen at all.
Puneet, we believe you're also working on a cricket league on the lines of the BGTA Premier League. How is that working out?
So I would say, I was talking to Abhishek the other day where he shared with me about their experience of hosting BGTA Premier League, which is a phenomenal success. 120 people play. And but I see that in Delhi particularly, if you talk about the engagement between the younger generation of transporters, there's very close bond and warmth between the elder generation. They meet frequently, but the younger generation has not. That was one of my agenda, that how to include younger generation in the transport association affairs. This is our idea of involving them, because cricket is what ours is a nation, cricket of nation. I mean, cricket is a national sport, and everybody gets bound through it. So that's the idea. So preparation, we've already sought applications from people to own the teams. We have got 5 people who expressed, and we need to market a little more. It might take, as it happened in BGTA, it takes a little time to build up the momentum, but we're certainly going to have the first season in this February.
Friends, while Puneet and his young team is working on the cricket tournament, not just to get the youngsters on the ground, but also to get them to sit across the table and talk on issues related to the industry. But what are Puneet's thoughts on the industry? We'll know this and more on the other side of this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका ब्लेजो एक्स सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, वरना कर दीजिए ट्रक वापस।
सॉरी अजय, महिंद्रा फ्यूरियो है। एक्शन।
महिंद्रा गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका फ्यूरियो सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, नहीं तो
एक्चुअली जयो, महिंद्रा जयो है, थोड़ा चेंज है। एंड एक्शन।
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका जियो सबसे चल क्या रहा है यहाँ पे?
मैम, ये चारों ट्रक ज्यादा माइलेज देते हैं, चारों।
तो ऐसा बोलो ना, ब्लेजो एक्स, फ्यूरियो 7 और जयो। महिंद्रा के ये सभी ट्रक्स देते हैं सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज की गारंटी, नहीं तो कर दीजिए इन्हें वापस। महिंद्रा, देश की सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देने वाली ट्रक रेंज।
Welcome back to Trans India, real people, real emotions. We are in conversation today with Mr. Puneet Agarwal from CJ Darcel and the working president of All India Transporters Welfare Association. So Puneet, what are the major issues that the industry is facing currently?
First and foremost issue that anybody talks about is the competition, which puts a pressure on the margin, which is a harsh truth. There, my view is that on the association front, what we can try to do is the price wars would happen if we are not differentiating our services. Within ourselves, we know so many transporters who are focused on a very specific niche or segment where their service to customers is so strong that customers are willing to pay a premium and they command a margin which is higher than the industry average. So I wouldn't take names, but key to beating competition is you have to differentiate your services. That's on the broader segment. Other than that, we believe that adoption of technology is very, very important to improve your operation efficiencies and reduce your costs. If you don't do that, then again you would be uncompetitive. And one important lever that I believe that we've done a lot about within our company and which we try to encourage those people is to keep a good command on your costs. Our customers, they have a good position and they try to negotiate hard. So that is when you have to hold your nerve and you don't buzz. Because if you buzz there and you pick up a business at price lower than your cost, then that is that's a mind game that you have to hold. That's a very important area which I see many transporters, particularly I say people with large fleet, they don't have very accurate hold on their costings and they tend to undercut, so which has to be reduced.
In fact, even the reverse bidding process is turning out to be a pitfall for many companies.
So again, that's I would say you have to have a good command on your cost. How we practice it, we have within our organization and what we encourage, and the more progressive people do is they wouldn't get tempted. The reverse bidding system is an mechanism by the customers to get the transporters tempted to pick up more business and undercut. So you have to hold that temptation. Or some companies have chosen to not participate, which I believe is not the best strategy. It's just that you maintain your costs and don't go beyond that.
So Puneet, have you set certain norms or parameters when it comes to taking part in these reverse auctions?
We have set up a baseline price and a minimum markup that we have, and accordingly that's how it has to function. I wouldn't say that we don't make errors. Sometimes we do, but largely we don't get tempted when we see that there is a bloodshed happening.
Puneet, some years back, AITWA had put together a model code of conduct, as it called it. Is AITWA still working on that?
So we recently only had a meeting. We meet every week, our core group, where just for informal discussions. So model code of conduct is an important one because as of now, there is no standardization of the terms and conditions. Every customer, every transporter, they have a different conditions regarding loading, unloading, insurance, payment terms, those kind of things. So we have come up with an ideal scene which is balanced for both the service provider as well as the customer, so that which becomes a reference point. It's more like a checklist. We have finalized it. We shared it with our members in HGTA as well, and we are now trying to talk to FICCI, PhD chamber and SO chamber as well, so that they can also endorse it, so that it can get widely percolated and circulation in the entire industry.
Puneet, we were talking about competition some time back. Is AITWA looking to step in to stop this mindless war somewhere?
This is an issue which has been pressing and our dream and our wish list for all the decades that I've been observing. But I feel this is something which has to be accepted as a harsh truth. So even government, we've been wanting to have a minimum freight prices or some kind of indexation. But increasingly, government has made its stance clear, and I believe in the free economy, competition is good for the industry as a whole. It's just that when some members get marginalized, it's about how do you innovate. If there are any unfair practices, then there definitely we have to come up with. But otherwise, this is something where every business has to work on technology to reduce their cost, keep track of their costing, so that they don't undercut, get tempted when the customers are kind of negotiating hard with them. So this is something I would encourage our members to focus on that, because at industry association level, creating any policy which is okay with government, I don't see that happening.
Puneet, while AITWA is a powerhouse of stalwarts of this industry with decades of experience behind them, but you, a youngster yourself, and you have Abhishek, another youngster in the team. How is your equation with Abhishek?
So Abhishek he's been involved in the industry affairs for last 10 years, and the way he has been driving the key initiatives, I really admire him for a lot, and he was one of the key reasons that I got inspired to get to join AITWA at the senior forum. So we have very frequent chats, and I still have a very good personal relationship with him as well. He's a great player to be along.
So Puneet, going forward, what are your targets as the president of AITWA?
So I've not taken too many things which we already, our strong area remains the government interface, where government invites us. We would continue to give our inputs for the welfare of the trade. That's important area. Besides that, I've personally taken up the initiative of adoption of technology in the industry, where we can create some common tools. We can collaborate with startups which can help us improve efficiencies, transparency in the system, as well as general customer service we can increase. Ease of managing business as a transport company is very important. So we're going to take some initiatives there. And then driver welfare and LOTS, Law and the Transport Service, that's an important initiative that has worked well. And there are so many initiatives that we are on the cards for driver welfare. Our Ramesh Agarwal ji, President, our national president, that's a topic which is close to heart in terms of driver Nidra Dan. So we are trying to create an app where we can partner with the dhabas, where somebody can for CSR Nidra Dan for drivers at a cost which becomes a CSR expense for them, and it helps drivers, motivate driver to take rest so that we can reduce accidents. That's important. NHRC invited us, where we gave input for various policy, be it Ayushman Bharat and driver harassment on the road. So all the government interface, technology adoption, some things for welfare of the drivers. These are few things which we have on the card.
Puneet, the road transport industry on the whole has been very slow to adopt technology. But having said that, how important do you think is IT for the road transport industry?
So I believe the impact of IT on every sector is quite visible. We are in a digital age, and I keep track of what's happening latest now. Even AI is going to, we are talking about artificial intelligence and self-driven cars which is happening. So in the next 20 years, AI is going to be a prominent player, is going to disrupt the industry quite a lot. The technology, I feel a little sad about the adoption is not as deep as it used to be, as it ought to be. It's just that even today, it so happens if a customer consignment is not delivered, then consignee would call the consigner would call the transporter would call the driver, and then you get to know. Whereas today we are in a digital age, there is IoT, there is so many tools available. You should have, for 300 rupees order on e-commerce, you get live tracking. So it's not so for a full truckload shipment. These are things which sadden me a bit, but I think we have come a long way. I believe it's a journey of adoption, and with so many startups focusing on this area, and even businesses becoming aware, transport owners, new generation coming in, there's a lot more focus on adoption of technology, because if in today's age, if a business is not using technology enough, then it would, I fear, lag quite behind and might not be even able to sustain in the competition.
Friends, it is so true that we are able to track the smallest and the cheapest of package from e-commerce sites, but tracking a truck which carries goods worth lakhs of rupees is still a challenge, especially when it comes to the independent truckers. So how is CJ Darcel, which has a large number of independent truckers and transporters within its company, managing the tracking and keeping a close eye on their performance? We will know about this and more from Puneet after this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका ब्लेजो एक्स सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, वरना कर दीजिए ट्रक वापस।
सॉरी अजय, महिंद्रा फ्यूरियो है। एक्शन।
महिंद्रा गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका फ्यूरियो सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, नहीं तो
एक्चुअली जयो, महिंद्रा जयो है, थोड़ा चेंज है। एंड एक्शन।
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका जियो सबसे चल क्या रहा है यहाँ पे?
मैम, ये चारों ट्रक ज्यादा माइलेज देते हैं, चारों।
तो ऐसा बोलो ना, ब्लेजो एक्स, फ्यूरियो, फ्यूरियो 7 और जयो। महिंद्रा के ये सभी ट्रक्स देते हैं सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज की गारंटी, नहीं तो कर दीजिए इन्हें वापस। महिंद्रा, देश की सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देने वाली ट्रक रेंज।
Welcome back to Trans India. We are in conversation with Puneet Agarwal from CJ Darcel and the working president of All India Transporters Welfare Association. Puneet, how has the performance of CJ Darcel been in the last few years?
So, Touchwood, CJ Darcel has been going pretty good. In the last 4 years, we've been, this year we're going to touch about 4,200 crores of sales. And that's so we've been growing year on year about 15-20% average. We've been growing in the last 3-4 years. Our partnership with CJ has worked quite well. We are focusing big time on multi-modal transportation. Really is a significant chunk of business for us now. And with the global focus on reduced carbon logistics, so our customers are increasingly more interested about shifting some of their loads so that they can reduce their carbon footprint. The multimodal is significant operation. CJ has a stronghold in terms of their express distribution, express and warehousing and distribution business. We are expanding into express transport, express LTL business as well as warehousing and distribution, and air cargo as well. We've started. Freight forwarding division we've also started. So we are now becoming a one-stop, full end-to-end logistics solutions company.
Puneet, you have always advocated the use of more IT in the transport business. To what extent is IT being used in CJ Darcel?
So I would say for the size of operations that we handle, we have 4,000 people, 200 locations all over the country. So our core system remains the TMS. So we have been continuously investing into transportation. So vehicle hiring, that is one area which I feel there's something that needs to be done. There's sort of so much difference between a cost price that goes to a fleet owner who's the primary supplier and a transporter who's the primary transport connector who's the primary buyer, because in terms of the brokerage commission and lack of transparency. So we have been adopting various methods to how can we bring more transparency in their process. We have launched a system where through WhatsApp we are broadcasting out to our vendors about the loads available, and they bid on WhatsApp itself, which has gone phenomenally well. We have implemented SIM-based tracking to address the same issue even for market vehicles. Our own vehicles, they all have GPS installed, and we have a control tower, a fleet control tower to keep track of operations. But it has been difficult for market vehicles. But now with the option of SIM tracking, so we can give complete visibility to our customers even for market hired vehicles. And another area that's under R&D is, I would say, freight forecasting. So being able to, most of our customers, they are annual contracts. When they do annual contracts, we have to hire spot for market vehicles. So being able to forecast what will the cost be considering the seasonal fluctuations and other various factors. So we have been coming out with some data sciences model to be able to forecast right so that we don't make costing errors. There are many areas. For customer service, we've come out with customer portal, self-service portal where they can track the consignments. These are things that we're doing. And for new businesses as well, we have complete end-to-end TMS or freight management systems who have as much as manual working.
Puneet, CJ Darcel uses a lot of market trucks. What are the numbers and how do you keep a track on their performance?
So Darcel owns 1,000 trucks of our own. We have 1,000 trucks of our own, but that just does about 10% of business. 90% of business is through outsourced vehicles. We have established a trusted partnership with freight suppliers and large fleet owners who work with us to serve our customers' requirement, and which is our business strategy. We call it asset right. Like we are neither asset light, we are neither asset heavy. We just use the right mix of own fleet and market fleet to optimize our cost as well as balance the customer service level. So at any point of time, there would be almost 10,000 trucks on the roads carrying goods booked by CJ Darcel Logistics.
How do you keep a tab on these trucks?
So as I said, technology on truck, we have a centralized fleet control tower that we have where all the trucks, we get live visibility of where they are and what's the job that they're assigned to. And if there are delays, we take action. For market vehicles, we have SIM-based tracking or GPS tracking depending upon customers and use case need. And that again is monitored through a central control tower team. If there is any issue, then we immediately get to know and we can inform customer and do corrective action. That's been outsourcing vehicles has been a key strategy for Darcel to be able to scale up. Operating a 10,000 own fleet is a much more difficult thing.
So Puneet, with a fleet of 1,000 plus trucks, there's a requirement of a larger number of drivers. How do you make sure that the drivers remain within the company? Do you face any kind of shortage?
The driver shortage, if you talk about, that's an industry-wide, if you talk about that's definitely an issue. But for us, we would say that's not been as worrisome. We have been fairly good paymasters to our drivers. We treat them well. So the drivers are ultimately humans. So if you take care of their interests, then they would stick to you. So though it has an impact on our profitability, but we believe that they're a core player in the game. So you cannot neglect or undercut them. You have to take care of their interests as well.
So besides just the pay package, do you have other incentives for the drivers?
Benefits, if you talk about, primarily payment is important. Otherwise, the way you treat people, respect for people is an important factor which I believe is standing out. Drivers, they face so much humiliation all across. So when our people are dealing with them, they do it with a little bit of empathy or respect. So that's something which I think works in our favor. And otherwise, usual whatever benefits in terms of health insurance, life insurance, leave, paid leaves, those facilities we already have. We give them regular trainings as well.
Continuing our discussion on drivers, AITWA had started a Highway Heroes program some years back. What is the current status of that?
So Highway Heroes picked up during the COVID big time, and then even today we do regularly small activities like some eyeglasses, eye checkup for them, and give them eyeglasses with a startup that we did in partnership with them. And also this LOTS is an extension of the Highway Heroes, where drivers, when they get stuck in the road, we can provide them legal assistance. That's an important initiative as well.
Railways has been picking up a lot of pace in the last couple of years. To what extent is CJ Darcel using railways, and how do you see the future panning out?
So as I mentioned earlier, railways is a very important strategy. Worldwide, there's so much focus on reduced carbon emission, and railway is one of key strategy, and government has done quite well to expand the rail infrastructure. The DFC is going to become more active as we progress. Multimodal logistics parks are being created. So Darcel has one of the initial container train operator licenses in 2007, and since then we've continued to expand our focus on this. So today we do about 15% of our business is coming from rail transportation. It's poised to grow to about 25% over the next few years.
Youngsters have preferred to stay away from association activities, focusing more on their business, of course. As a youngster yourself and being so active in the Transport Association, how do you plan to bring in more youngsters to work for the association and the industry?
The LOTS is an extension of the Highway Heroes, where drivers, when they get stuck in the road, we can provide them legal assistance. That's an important initiative as well.
Because Lords, I believe, is doing very well.
Yes.
Puneet, you've been heading Darcel, which is now like a legendary company. How much pressure is there on you youngsters to keep this legacy going on?
So I would not see it as a pressure. I would see it as a great opportunity and a platform for us to make a difference. We are proud to be. I have 6 brothers in this business, so we are a large family business. So we all have taken different responsibility areas. We have so much. Logistics is such a vast subject. There are so many segments. So there's so much for everyone to do. And besides our own family business, we have family professionals. We have outside professionals as well joining business. We are looking to professionalize CJ Darcel. So it's a great. I don't see it as a. I don't say responsibility. I see it responsibility, but not as a burden. I see it as a great opportunity for.
Finally, Puneet, how do you see the future of CJ Darcel and the industry on the whole?
So Darcel, as I mentioned, here a couple of years back we had a group meeting where we clearly laid out our vision that we would be a full-scale end-to-end transportation company, and we are already one of the largest in terms of full truckload transportation. So with our newly added services, we would continue to be in the top few transport companies in the country. So full scale. So that's the focus, and company would transition into more professionally managed. CJ is already there, and we are going to be raising capital as well. So the Darcel is in good hands and good progressive path we have forward. And as industry as well, as I mentioned, it's quite an exciting time to be in logistics space, and technology is going to play a peculiar crucial role in the growth of industry. And infrastructure is another very important dimension where government is doing their bit, and many players who are infrastructure centric, they are laying out. It's going to be there would be businesses who would be specialists of creating infrastructure, and there would be people who are the connecting point between the infrastructure owners and the customers, like who would be integrators of various services. So I see it's an exciting time.
Well, friends, that was our interaction with Puneet, who gives us a reassurance that the road transport industry has a very bright future, and it is only in the hands of the transporters and the players to make sure that they make hay while the sun shines. India is aiming to become a $5 trillion economy, and that cannot happen without the active participation of logistics on the whole. If India has to become a stronger economy, goods have to keep moving at a faster pace with more efficiency. Although the cost for the transporters is going up on account of diesel, tires, toll tax, taxes, and possibly everything else. but they have to make sure that they keep their freight rates in check. Puneet gives a very solid advice. The transporters have to get their calculation right before they quote any kind of freight, be it tenders, be it reverse auctions, or anywhere else. We hope that the industry will take a cue from what Puneet has been doing, using technology, making the right calculations, and quoting the right freight. We will be back again next week with our Legend of Road Transport series, where we will be talking to a person who started off his career delivering documents for a courier company and now heads a company with a fleet of over 1,500 trucks serving all across India. Make sure you tune in again next Sunday. Please do remember to subscribe to our channel. And until next week, stay safe. Jai Hind.